It's happening now. It's happening. It's happening. With Stafford's buildings that go on Second Street.
Properties acquired
Under reconstruction. No, it's happening. Yes. And we're going to put up a series of.
And where does that stand right now?
Actually, both, if you were to take a drive out there, you would see both companies working on the site, bringing the properties to proper grade.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't trust the ones
There's a fair amount of equipment out there.
where you're sitting.
And who have you revealed yet who Boundary Properties is building the center for, or what's going in there?
No, I don't believe that's been made public.
Are you going to right now, or?
No.
Okay.
That's a.
When
We still have confidentiality agreements with both companies, and any details the companies themselves should be contacted.
Okay, and that would be Boundary Properties then?
Well, Boundary Properties is the one property owner, and the second one, of course, is Target.
And any idea when there might be an announcement on the Boundary Properties site?
You'd have to ask.
Can you talk a little bit about the $1.1 million announced today? Can you explain about what logistically people will see in the business part of what is really going on with that investment?
Sure. Well, actually, the entire project is approximately $6.6 million, and so of course the city is also a large contributor to the project. And what it is an extension of Industrial Park Drive in a westerly and then southerly fashion to meet up with 10th Street. And then, of course, there are services that go with that, water, sewer, and so on, to service these businesses. And there's some other work, stormwater retention pond work, and so on. So all of the infrastructure required to properly service what is, approximately 300 acres of land for two users.
Just to clarify, is this the same plan that Norm Levac showed with the map and showed the whole plan for that area back at the council meeting a couple of months ago?
Yes, there was an environmental assessment that was done for the extension of Industrial Park Drive to join up on 10th. Yes, and so it would be that road and pretty much the parcels adjacent on both sides. Yeah.
Mark, for 2012, how many jobs roughly are you hoping to see start and commence between the two projects?
Well, I think primarily for the year 2012, it will be construction jobs, and I'm really guessing at how many jobs there are. But certainly, if you were to go out there, you'd see, a fair amount of large equipment, probably 50 tandem trucks up and down the road. So certainly hundreds of temporary jobs, construction jobs, and then of course the companies probably should be contacted to see what their completion dates are likely to be, but those of course would be jobs thereafter. So.
Do you have any idea, can you ballpark even the size of the centers that are such as the one there, especially the Boundary one? Is it something close to the SCM, or is it smaller like Shoppers?
Yeah, I can provide you the detail, I suppose, of the Target building. It is the building we're familiar with here is the SCM building, which services Walmart. It measures just over 1.4 million square feet.
Okay.
And so this will be just shy of that figure.
Okay. How many employees at the SCM?
It really depends on the season, but as they prepare for the highest point, I think, would be preparing for Christmas season, and it approaches 1,000 people at that time.
Okay.
For this work on extending, can you explain where you're at as far as procuring the people to do it and what stage they are?
Yeah.
Just clarify that.
Actually, the contract is with Cornwall Gravel.
Right.
And so they're doing the work. They would like to, we have a contract with them to have that completed by the end of September. Mm-hmm. And so certainly that's the date that we're aiming towards.
Mm-hmm. Good.
And that's the deadline set by Boundary Properties?
No, well, it's a deadline that when you enter into a contract with the servicing company, You know, there's always going to be a date, and the date in this specific contract is the end of September, and so that's the date that they would be aiming towards.
Is that a firm date, and are you
Well,
close to meeting that?
it's certainly something that we would want to see substantial completion of the road. There are some works that will be required in the next year, or sorry, in 2012. So some works like the stormwater retention pond that I talked about, and certainly the last coat of paving would always be done the following year, you know, to allow for the winter to take effect on the roadway and thereafter the last coat of pavement. So
Okay, and you're on target?
I believe so.
So sorry, just to clarify, the water and sewer work, that'll be done next year after the road's completed?
No, most of the water and sewer work is being done this year.
Okay.
And stormwater retention ponds are likely going to be completed mainly next year.
Okay.
If you have any details about the engineering work, probably best to speak with Norm Levac, who's the manager of engineering, but I think I've given you some ballpark estimations there.
Can you speak to the construction, everything that's going on there, to the intrusiveness of people working in the industrial park already, if it's having a lot of effect on traffic flow and people moving in and out of the industrial park right now?
I suppose Boundary Road is busier because, you know, there's a fair amount of truck traffic on Boundary Road, certainly new truck traffic. So I suppose in that respect, there may be, you know, more of a constraint than there used to be. But you know, obviously these are growing pains. But I haven't received any calls. I mean, I think the people in the park are familiar with the fact that this is a necessity in order to advance. I will also point out that at both ends of Industrial Park Drive and at 10th Street, there will be traffic lights in the future. So certainly the traffic flow in the park should certainly be able to handle the larger flow that will be coming.
When do you expect to be connected to 10th?
As I said, that contract is expected to be completed at the end of September.
Okay, so that's part of the whole
Yeah,
contract.
so if you were to drive out there now, you would actually see that the conduits and, you know, part of the groundwork is already completed for the traffic signalization at 10th and McConnell.
Can you speak to the future of the industrial park? You now have these two large logistical centers. Obviously, logistics is the focus. What's your inventory like now? Do you have 100+ acre pieces that you can say to more logistics centers come here, or the fact do you have smaller bits and pieces and have to make a long-term future plan?
Ryan Gosling.
We do have smaller bits, as you point out. You know, not many actually, but a few, ranging anywhere from, you know, maybe 2-3 acres up to about 10 acres. And then in terms of the future, we're actually in the middle of a master plan for the business park and looking at the expansion. So our park actually has within it an environmental constraint area. And so the north of that environmental constraint area are lands that the city owns. There are some other privately held lands as well to the west of that, until you finally reach McConnell Avenue. And so we're we're preparing a master plan with the assistance of Canabark, and they are looking at a couple of details. One is, you know, that environmental constraint area and its proper definition. And then secondly, you know, road networks that are required within that area. Because we're talking about lands that are immediately adjacent to Highway 401. So obviously, I think there will be some fairly good demand for that property. And there are some other pockets here and there in the park as well, still south of the environmental constraint area.
So until you get that done, really, the chances of bringing another Target or another Boundary Properties in has to pretty much be on hold until...
Again, we do have properties that are available, but in terms of a large lot, I would say that, the city needs to get roads to that site. And that's really why we're in the middle of this project, which is, this definition of the wetland and how should the road network be. That's an entirely public process as well, so an environmental assessment will involve the public, and so the public will see what we're talking about with this master plan.
What's your timeline on that plan?
We're in the maybe a third completed on that. We have some ideas, but we need to put that down on paper and of course go through that whole public environmental process, so the public will start to see that stuff.